appreciate you meeting me here at your home office today since you were busy this week and we couldn't get to your real office.
Yes, and I'm sorry. The rest of what we do, it's been crazy this week.
So it's a serious job that you have for rest of what you have to do during the week. So we will be discussing a lot of what you are required to do. For the record, I'd like you to tell the viewers your name and your title.
Okay. I'm Agent Catherine Gage. I work at the ACC in Camden, Arkansas.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to be going over my research. I was to do a research project for you to help find an answer to a problem of your agency. Your problem was how to retain employees. So I have researched, well, and your issue was low budget or no budget, so it became a hassle to try to find exactly what we could use. But I think I've found an idea that may work, and I hope that it does. So we will begin. I entitled the project, How to Retain Employees at the Arkansas Community Corrections for the Camden office. And then we're going to go over just a short synopsis of the background because you know the background of your agency. We're going to go over the purpose of the project, which we know is to find an answer to your issue. We're going to identify the problem, which we've done. Then the research methods that I used, analysis and findings, and then of course the recommendation action plan, the recommended action plan. That is what we will spend the most time on today because that's what we're here for. And of course there's references and the appendix. So, I guess we'll get started.
Okay.
So the ACC was introduced into legislation in 1993, which I'm sure you're aware of, but we'll just do this for the viewers that are not so aware, even my instructor. The penal system had been working trying to maintain the criminal population, and it had gotten so far out of hand. An interesting thing is in the 1970s, Arkansas had a total of 2,519 prisoners. In 2015, Arkansas had a total of 18,681 prisoners. As you can tell, the crime rate has just gotten out of hand. So the ACC, the Arkansas Community Correction, was created to help maintain control of the chaos in a central location in your community for the misdemeanors and drug offenses and, things that were smaller, that just did not have to send that man or woman to an overcrowded prison. Something simple for the most part. I mean, it's still a criminal activity, but it is something that you can control. Obviously, it's not always controllable because you've made arrests this week. And I believe you made that big bust last week on the man the school teacher found again committing, yes, the sexual things he shouldn't be. So I know that your job is very strenuous, and I understand that we weren't able to meet in your office. I just hope the viewers do. Okay, and so we've established where it came from and why, and then now we're at the part where we discuss the purpose of this project. The purpose was to find an issue, to find an answer for your issue, to find real evidence of a way to make the turnover rate a thing of the past, or at least a thing that's, reducing at a steady level. You stated in our interview that the new employees are only lasting 6 to 8 months, and I know that's making it extremely hard for everyone else. Also, you stated in our interview that each officer is responsible for 150 offenders apiece, so that when that new hire quits, their 150 first go to you because you're the supervisor, and then you have to dole them out to the already overloaded officers. So then we have the serious problem of burnout. Since it is happening so much and so quickly, we've now become, an open door where people are just a swinging door, really, where people are just coming in, staying for a little while, realizing it's too much, and then taking off. So we want to find a way to make these people stay, and that's what the problem. That's what we identified was the problem and the purpose of this project. So the methods that I used were qualitative, quantitative, and research, and interviews. The qualitative is where you just gather up a bunch of information and you just study, trying to find an answer that other people have found that worked. Or maybe a new answer that you could use and try to make work. And then the quantitative we use to find numbers, numerical things like, or the ratios where it's 150 offenders per one officer, or the 2,519 prisoners in 1970. Those are quantitative. And of course the interviews, what you and I have done together to see what your thoughts are on the past and the present and the future of this organization. Because I know working there means a lot to you. You're not one of the ones that wants to be in the swinging door. You really want to make a difference. And we appreciate your service. So we are at the analysis and findings, and have gotten behind on our little thing here. There's the purpose of our project. We have identified the problem. We've identified the research methods, and now we're at the analysis and findings. This is just where I did the actual research. You know, what can we find? What do we need to find? What would be the best suited for you? So we talked about burnout because the officers are expected to take care of court, take care of their fines, home meetings, family meetings. You know, you have to go out and physically find that person if they don't show up. And there are days when you wear a uniform, and there are days when you wear street clothes, depending on whether you need to be identified or you need to be kind of in the background so you can do your job and see what's going on. I know that in the interview you stated that when you go to see the sexual offenders, you wear regular clothes because you don't want them to know you're the officer. It's so that you can see how they're really behaving. So I think it's interesting that some days you carry a gun, some days you go in there cold turkey and do your job and hope that no one shows out. You never know. So it's amazing what you can pull off. So let's move on down then. All right, and so burnout is a result of a combination of occupational frustration and organizational dissatisfactions. So with the heavy caseload, with you having clients or offenders, however you want to state them, that may or may not behave, then that becomes a problem. And then you have just wore out because you're working sometimes 10 and 12 hours a day, depending on, like yesterday you were doing home visits and we were supposed to be in your office,
right,
but it just wound up going. You didn't even get home till 6:30. So again, I appreciate you taking the time on your Saturday to make this happen for me.
No problem.
So emotional exhaustion, you know, just physical exhaustion, mental exhaustion because you have hordes of paperwork to take care of,
Right.
hordes of paperwork, and then just the responsibility to the state of Arkansas, much less the community of Camden, you know, and all the pressure that they put on you as well. So we've established why we needed to find the problem. Robert, you're breathing hard. Okay, so now let's go into the meat of what this research was all about. Let's find the recommendation, and let's talk about that. So the recommendation that I have come up with is the stay interview. I know most people haven't heard of that. It's kind of a newer thing, and especially Arkansas being a little bit further behind the times. The exit interview most people have heard of because it's what happens when you leave a job. And people want to know why you're leaving the job. What was wrong? What happened so that they can fix it in the future. Well, the stay interview is what you actually have before that happens. You can sit down with the employees and find out what it is they're missing and what it is they need. And of course, with the budget being so maxed out, it's not like you can hire an extra person to, you know, maintain this workload or quickly hire someone when someone walks out. So, you know, you've got to find something in place that makes the people that you have want to stay, so that you don't have the cost of replacing them and the hassle of having all the extra offenders to be responsible for. But what the stay interview does is it breaks down with one person at a time. It's you, the supervisor, or it can start with HR, but it's you, the supervisor, sitting down with each employee and saying, what is it that you need from me? Some things you can do, some things you may not be able to do. But at this point in time, you can't afford to continue to lose these individuals or replace these individuals to maintain control, of all of the prisoners or the parolees and the probationers that you're responsible for. So what the stay interview does is allow you to sit down and ask them questions about, what it is they're missing. Some of the questions that, there's a book in here, in your paperwork and in here, that Richard Finnegan wrote called The Stay Interview. And what he recommended was his top 5 questions are, whoops, did I miss them? Maybe I didn't put that one on there, sorry. His top 5 questions are, what do you look forward to each day when you commute to work? What are you learning here or want to learn? Why do you stay here? What could cause you to leave us? And what can I do to make your job better for you? That at least, just those 5 lets the person know that you really care about what's happening to them and that you really care about what's happening to your agency. And a lot of times when people think that they're cared about, and feel like they're special, and what they do matters, then that's enough to make them stay. But with the lack of raises, with Arkansas's budgets being so low, I'm sure, and then even when you guys take a vacation, the other people still have to assume the responsibility of your caseload. So it's just an ongoing thing for you guys, and I know that makes it really hard. But Mr. Finnegan discussed all different kinds of things. Like when you had the interview, you could ask, what makes you jump out of your bed to come to work? Or what makes you hit the snooze button and not want to come? And you have to create an atmosphere of trust so they don't think, okay, well, I'm going to tell her this stuff and then she's going to fire me. I mean, you want them to really get to the bottom of what's going on. What do they want to do to grow with the agency? What are they hoping that will happen for them? And maybe you could figure out a way to work towards some of those goals so that maybe the lack of raises and the extra workload is worth it to them because they're meeting some of their own personal goals, There are success stories that have proved that this actually works, It's a slow rate of turnover, slow rate of retaining employees. So it doesn't, you just go in and everybody wants to stay. But most all of these companies that I found, there's one in Colorado, they were raising up 0.1% every month of people they were able to retain just by putting this into effect. And here we have 3 more success stories. The Florida Hospital, their turnover declined 70% after so much time with using this program. Even the call center here said that their turnover went down 20%. Even if it just goes down some, until you can do something else, every employee that stays is worth doing this. Even if it's just one, that's 150 offenders you don't have to spread around because that one stayed. There's another gentleman that has done a lot of coaching, business coaching. His name is Marcus Buckingham, and he believes that the most successful managers are the ones that are focused on constantly rehiring their best people. So it's kind of the same concept, you sit them down and you find out from them what makes them want to stay, so that you're constantly evolving with them, and they're finding out that they're important and they're appreciated. And so his 3 things are know me, focus me, and grow me, And so if you constantly rehire, in his words, who you already have, you gain their trust over and over because you do what you say you're going to do. Sure, the budget is low, but that doesn't mean that you can't take a different day off this week, without being in trouble, or having extra quality time at home with your family in the morning if you're willing to work later in the evening. Being able to go to that school program and then working over in the afternoon, just so that their family life and their employment life can at least mesh some. Because not every job is going to do that, but if you can provide that, that gives them a reason to want to stay. So, I mean, I'm not sure if ACC believes that this would be a viable plan, but it is the one that I could come up with that really made the most difference. And I'm sure you've asked your employees, you know, how you doing? What do you need today? But this is a conscious effort to really take their thoughts and their feelings, their needs and their wants, even their desires to grow with the company into effect and really make it worth their while. Because you don't have an option to just sit back and do nothing. You are losing employees at a disastrous rate. And so, especially the 6 to 8 months. And I know that weighs heavy on your mind because you have all that responsibility of just waiting for the fallout, and that's terrible for everybody. But until the state of Arkansas can get the budget under control, this is one of the ways that maybe it could work. There's no quick fix, not in a situation like this. One, you've got to sit down with them. You know, I recommend that you sit down with them right away, start the process, and start to give them the littlest things that you can until you can figure out where in the budget you can move some things around, or move some time around, or allow for this or that. I mean, it's an undertaking, understood. And then in 3 months, sit down with them again, see what ground you've gained, and what's still weighing heavy on their minds, what changes they still want. Sure, you can't change everything. You can't give them everything they want. But we do have to find a reason to make them want to stay. So, in conclusion, the research has shown how dire this situation is and that something must be done. The ACC is a great organization that is struggling to exist. Changes must be made somehow or some way, and I believe that the stay interview will be the key to lasting change for this business. Do you have any questions?
No, not that I can think of.
Do you think this is an option worth trying for the ICC?
I think this is a good situation that we should look into, solution that we should look into.
Well, I really appreciate your time and your help. If you have been given a copy,
Right.
and if you're interested, I can give you a copy of this as well. This has all of the references that I used, and at the end it just has the interview questions that you and I went over and that you helped me with. And I greatly appreciate your time, Agent Gage, and I hope that we can work together in the future.